Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I'll be talking about Warren Sharp ranking the Washington Commanders receiving core 20th in the league and their running back core 29th, and a bunch of other just ridiculous things. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content, also with that like button and the notification bell as well. Those three things take like 3 seconds and it really would help me out a ton, and I would really appreciate it. All right, so normally I don't really like to react to these rankings, but we don't have a lot to talk about, and soon we will though. And I think I saw what Rio tweeted, like 17 days until training camp, and 10 days away from new ownership, being voted in, and then probably the next day is a press conference. But right now we don't have a lot to talk about, and Warren Sharp, made these rankings, and I think some of them are just absolutely ridiculous, and I want to talk about it. And JP Finley, I don't know why. I don't know how much Warren Sharp is paying him, but he's been kind of promoting this last week or so, and he said, if you're not reading Sharp football season preview before camp, are you really even getting ready for camp? Which is just like, there's no way he's not getting paid for that, because look at this. He has the Commanders at 32 for quarterbacks, which, okay, I don't agree with that, but and I know a lot of people in the, who are watching right now are going to say that's super ridiculous. For a lot of people who haven't seen Sam Howell play, I can see why they would have him at 32. I would not have us at 32 because we have Sam Howell. We also have Jacoby Brissett, who is a very good backup and, an okay starter at times. So I think 32 is a little bit ridiculous considering Jacoby Brissett. I think we should at least be like 29, 28. And, there's some other teams that just don't have good quarterback situations. Like, I'm trying to think, like the Falcons. They're similar to us. I would be interested to see what they're at, but they have Heineke, who's good, or who's a good backup, and then Desmond Ridder. I would argue Howell's probably a little bit better than Ridder. Like the Tennessee Titans, their quarterback room is kind of a mess. I know they have Tannehill, but he's kind of falling off a little bit, and then after that they don't really have anything. And then there's a bunch of rookies just got drafted in terms of Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and you could argue that Howell is going to have a better year than a lot of those guys because those guys are rookies. We'll see. So I think that's a little bit low, but not completely ridiculous. Offensive line 30th again is a little harsh. I don't think they're 30th, but I still don't think they're amazing. Running backs at 29, I think, is completely ridiculous. We'll get into that in a second, but the main topic I wanted to talk about was wide receivers. What are we even talking about here? 20th in the league? We have Terry McLaurin, who I believe is a top 10 receiver in this league. You got Curtis Samuel, who is a really good rotational receiver, who, good number 3 option, who can rush the football a little bit and is a solid receiving option, gets you a bunch of first downs. And then you got Jahan Dotson, who had was on pace for 750 plus yards and over 10 touchdowns in his rookie year. And that's your top 3. And then you have, De'Ami Brown, who has some talent and could be that, 4th option. And then you have, Dax Milne and some other guys as well. This is a very solid receiving group. At worst, I would say 16th. But I think they're higher than that. And I think if you're predicting for this season, what they're going to do this season, well, if you're predicting off of last season, okay, maybe I understand why they're 20th. Still don't agree with that, but maybe I understand. But predicting off of this season, which is what he's doing, it's a forecast for 2023, well, Jahan Dotson is, he's going to take a big leap. He's getting over 550, which is what he got last year. Jahan Dotson's going to take a big leap. I think he could double what he had last year. I want to see what he says. So he talks about the backfield, and then he says, even if we exclude carries, which is contact, he talked about Robinson, the lack of an explosive weapon in this backfield will hold back the offense. Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are a respectable 1-2 punch receiver, but there's little talent around them. Okay. Curtis Samuel has struggled to carve out a role since arriving in Washington in 2022. He caught 60% or just 65% of his targets between 0 and 10 yards, which ranks 67th out of 77 qualified receivers. I love how he just takes a random, kind of useless stat And that's the only thing he talked about Curtis Samuel. That's like ridiculous. Like, this is my first time actually reading through this. Okay, he caught 65% of his targets between 0 and 10 yards. I wonder why that may have happened. Maybe because he had Carson Wentz as his quarterback. Maybe because he had Taylor Heinicke as his quarterback. I really respect Taylor Heinicke, but he wasn't the best quarterback in the world. He was a good backup. And Wentz, not even a good backup. He was awful. So I think that would contribute to why he was ranked 67th out of 77. Maybe if he had Patrick Mahomes, he wouldn't be number one, but he would probably be in the top half of the league. So I just don't really understand like cherry picking this stat, and that's his justification for why Curtis Samuel sucks. Very, very interesting justification for me, or from him, that I just don't understand. And then one of JP Finley's colleagues, Ethan Cadu, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He says wide receivers at 20 seems really low. And then JP obviously is gonna defend whatever. I don't know what partnership is going on here, but he says must be about depth. After top 3, it really falls off a lot. Okay, first off, I was going to say this before I even read the comment. You could say that for about 85% of the NFL. I guarantee you the Cowboys receiving core is ahead of the Commanders. And honestly, I bet you this clown would have put the Cowboys receiving core above us before they traded for Brandon Cooks. Do they have anyone after the top 2? I mean, they have Michael Gallup, but he's not better than Curtis Samuel. I mean, he's been dealing with an injury and he hasn't really fully came back. And then besides that, no one else. I mean, let's go to the Dolphins. After their top 3, that's just JP Finley is doing a lot of justifying here and defending for Warren Sharp. But like the Miami Dolphins have a great receiving core. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and then Cedric Wilson's their number 3, which I would take Curtis Samuel over Cedric Wilson. But then, after their top 3, it falls off a lot, like JP Finley says. Same thing with the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. Like, that's just a ridiculous statement in my opinion. And I don't, I obviously did not buy this, must-read preview before camp. I guess I'm not getting ready for camp, according to JP. But I didn't buy this, so I can't see which teams are ahead of them. But, I mean, I just can't think of 19 teams that are ahead of the Commanders, in terms of receiving core. Like, I can definitely think of some, like obviously the Bengals, sorry, I'm just on the spot here. I would put the Seahawks over us for now just because they're more established. And then I would say, the Dolphins. And you got obviously some other teams in there. The Eagles for sure. I mean, they got, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Like, I would put them over us for sure, right now. Maybe if Jahan Dotson goes off this year, that can change things. But that, I got to give them the edge for now. Cowboys, I would probably still take our receiving core. And I'm trying to think, other divisions. Obviously there's other ones that are better than us, but you could maybe say the Raiders with Devonta Adams and Hunter Renfrow, but even that's debatable. I mean, actually they have Jacoby Myers too now, so give them the edge, but I don't know. The Commanders are not 20th. I don't see that. I probably, would put them top 10, around that, 10 to 12. I mean, I really have to look at it. But for me, that's just really ridiculous when you have a guy in Terry who the last 3 years has gone over 1,000 yards with terrible QB play. And yeah, this year I think he'll get you 1,300 plus yards. And then you got a guy in Curtis Samuel who is the elite? No. But he got you 656 yards and 4 touchdowns. And, if you count the rushing, he had 5 total touchdowns on the year. So, and then, in total, he had, 843 yards. So 843 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's the type of player Curtis Samuel was last year. And the only thing Warren Sharp has to say is, oh, yeah, he ranks 67th out of 77th on throws from 0 to 10 yards. Like, completely ridiculous. Like, I don't even get what he's doing there. Like, yes, with context and like with other stats to back it up, that's a good stat. but just showing one stat and that's your reasoning for why Curtis Samuel stinks and why he's a bad depth option is ridiculous to me. But yeah, 5 touchdowns, 843 yards. Like, that's a really good third option. And last year, I guess technically it was the second option, but this year he's going to be the third option. You got Jahan Dotson, who 500. I'll get it over here, but I think it was like 520 some yards last year and 7 touchdowns, 523 and 7 touchdowns. But he left a lot out on the field last year, and also missed 5 games. And when he did come back, they were kind of easing him in. So he was on pace for about 750 yards if he would have played all 17 games. But like, if he never got hurt and those first 3 games he came back from, like, he was like fully good to go, I think he would have gotten like 850, honestly. I think he would have got around 850 yards. But yeah, I think this receiving core is very solid and has the potential to be elite. I think it has a chance to be maybe not Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase and D. Higgins, maybe not that first tier, but I think by the end of the season, it could be tier 2 with like Terry getting you 1,300 yards and Jahan like, over 1,000 and Curtis Samuel like 700. Like, that to me is maybe not tier 1, but that second tier, like in that, 4 to 6 ranking, which is really, really good and way higher than 20. And okay, so any other ones I have an issue with? Running back at 29, I mean, what are we even talking about? Do I think we have an elite running back room? No, I don't think we do. But 29 is crazy. And our running back room was not efficient last year. It wasn't. And I'm sure that's why it's ranked low. But also, I mean, let's keep it real. How bad was this offensive line? I mean, you got to, if you're going to rank our offensive line 30th, and last year they were way worse, well, maybe that has, a little bit of a part in why the running backs were not efficient. Maybe just do a little bit more research there, Warren. Let's see what he said. I mean, he gives some stats, obviously. I don't even know if I want to read it, but, Brian Robinson also missed 5 games last year. Also, when he did come back, he was slow, maybe because he did get, someone shot him. I mean, like, that just like, yeah. I mean, if that never happened to him, that unfortunate incident, I think he would have been a lot more efficient. Like, his first few, 4 or 5 weeks, he was not very efficient. The last half of the season, he was much more efficient and still probably dealing with some lingering effects of that, incident. And then Antonio Gibson, I honestly, at this point, I don't think he's an elite running back. Running the football, I don't think he's a very great running back. I think he's okay at times, but I think he needs to be used more as a pass catcher. As a receiver, which would help this receiving ranking, but also just as a receiving running back as well, be a little bit more creative with him. I think that Eric Bieniemy can do that for sure. So the offensive side of the ball, like, I mean, we got better offensively this year. And, I mean, I think our offense ranked like 20th in the NFL last year, 21st, 22nd, around that. So I don't get how we got better. We added offensive linemen, got healthier. Our receivers are, developing more, and everything gets worse. Don't really get that. It is what it is. Defensively, front 7, they have us 4. He has us 4. That's respectable. I agree with that. Maybe a little bit higher, but for now, 4 with the uncertainty of Chase Young and Montez, or mostly Chase Young. I think 4 is an acceptable ranking. And secondary, 14. I'd probably put us a little bit higher. I don't know if because he doesn't. Yeah, I think I would probably put us a little bit higher, but you have some question marks in there with Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin. So with those question marks where you expect like Forbes to play well and maybe even Quan Martin, but you can't like depend on them. So I understand why it's 14. And then head coach 28th. I'd probably put a Rivera a little bit higher, but maybe not too much. Like maybe I'll put him like at 22, 23. But overall, I really had an issue with the receivers at 20. Just don't like it. And his justification for it. And then also the running backs at 29 is low. Like, I'm trying to think of other running back rooms that are just not that good. I mean, it's hard to think about it on the fly. I mean, the Giants, they got Barkley, but he might not play this year. I'm trying to think of other rooms. The Seahawks have a better room than us. The Cardinals, I would probably take our running back room over them. They have James Conner. I'm trying to think of other teams. The Rams, I would probably take ours over the Rams for sure. And I mean, there's other ones, but I'm not going to go through all of it right now. But yeah, I just want to make this video, talk about this. I think it's ridiculous at 20 and 29, and there's the justification for it. It doesn't really make sense. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Also, the Nats had a pretty good draft, I think. Got Dylan Cruz out of LSU, and then forgot his name, but the third baseman from, I think, Miami. Seems like a good pick there. And then they got a high school pitcher in the third round, an outfielder and shortstop so far. So looks like it's been a good draft, and I'm excited for the future there. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.